Hello beautiful people, happy Saturday and welcome to your astrological forecast for next week. And usually I do my practical application of astrology on Saturdays. However, this week everything is one day delayed, so practical application of astrology will be coming out tomorrow on Sunday. So at the moment when I'm still recording this, Moon is in the sign of Gemini. However, very shortly, in about 1 hour and something, Moon is going to move into the sign of Cancer, so I'm going to have my lunar return. But apart from that, we have a fairly quiet weekend. There are no major aspects happening, only Moon is doing her things as usual. So that's Saturday and Sunday. Moon is in the sign of Cancer, and Moon will remain in the sign of Cancer until Monday night. So for some of you, it will be already Tuesday morning when Moon moves into the sign of Leo. So let's talk about next week, shall we? Next week is actually the busiest week of April, despite all the eclipses and everything. Next week is the week that is actually the week. Next week is the week. So on Monday the 15th, we are going to have our second Mercury-Chiron conjunction. This time Mercury is retrograde. The first time the two conjuncted on March 20th, and Mercury was direct, and this time Mercury is retrograde. Also, as I mentioned previously, each time Mercury and Chiron are having conjunction, Mars as the ruler is in a different sign. When they conjuncted first time in March, Mars was in a sign of Aquarius. Now Mars is in the sign of Pisces, and the last time they're going to make a conjunction on May 6th, which is right before the new moon in Taurus. Mars, as the ruler of Chiron and Mercury in Aries, will be in the sign of Aries. It will be in the sign of his rulership because Mars is moving into sign of Aries at the end of the month. Okay, then as I already mentioned, on Monday night or Tuesday morning, depending where you are in the world, Moon is moving to the sign of Leo. On Wednesday, we have a second big thing happening. Venus, as the ruler of the South Node, is making a conjunction to North Node in Aries. We are going ahead. We know that this last eclipse, which we had on the last week, right? It feels like forever ago, but it was only last week. It was only on Monday, actually, this week when I'm recording this. But seriously, guys, it feels like this week feels like it felt in January. You know that it was gone in a blink of an eye, but at the same time, it felt like we did a quantum leap. This is exactly how I feel this week. Like, you know, was it only on Monday that we had the eclipse? It feels like it was ages ago because it feels like we made a quantum leap because it happened in a new phase conjunction with North Node, and now Venus is the ruler of the South Node, the one that we are trying to resolve, you know, the resolution now to Pluto square in the nodes last year, entire year. Venus is conjuncting North Node. So this is a brand new cycle with regards to the South Node, because the ruler of the South Node is conjuncting the North Node in Aries, new beginning. And the last time Venus conjuncted North Node was on the March 20th. Interesting, because Chiron Mercury conjunction happened on a March 20th, first one, but it was 2024. The one I'm talking about here, Venus North Node conjunction on March 20th, that was March 20th, 2023. And it's interesting because the numbers go 23, 2023. So, I mean, come on, you can't make this stuff up. And that was in the sign of Taurus. So at that time, Venus was the ruler of the North Node because the North Node was in Taurus, the conjunction took place in Taurus, and Venus was the ruler of the North Node, right? The last Venus and South Node conjunction happened on November 29th, which was right after the full moon in Gemini, which is all about the choice, of 29/11, 29/11/11 of 2023. I mean, you cannot make up these numbers, seriously. So Venus South Node conjunction, which was the midterm of that. So everything starts with the conjunction, right? So let's just backtrack so I don't lose people. Venus conjuncted North Node last time on March 20th, 2023. This is when the cycle that is ending now on Wednesday, this is when it began. And it was in Taurus, and Venus was the ruler of the North Node. So the ruler of the North Node conjuncted North Node at the time. Then 6 months later, 7 months later, but actually more than that, either way, in November 2023, 29th of November 2023, Venus conjuncted South Node. This was the midpoint. This was the midpoint of the conjunction that started the cycle that began in March 2023. Now we are closing the cycle. Venus is conjuncting North Node. So the cycle that began a year ago in March is ending and now new cycle is beginning. But now Venus is the ruler of the south node. So the ruler of the south node is now conjuncting the north node. So we're moving in a very different direction. And the next Venus south node conjunction, whilst Venus is still the ruler, it will still happen in the sign of Libra, will be happening on September 4th. And by that point, Pluto will be back in the sign of Capricorn, retrograde. It's right after the new moon in Virgo and right before the lunar eclipse in Pisces. So this is how it continues. And then, of course, next year, when Venus will conjunct North Node, it will be in the sign of Pisces already. So, yeah, so this is what we're talking about here. Very different energy. Thursday, Moon is going to move into the sign of Virgo. Learning and adjusting. What are we learning and adjusting after this conjunction, right? When we go in a completely different direction. And now, Friday the 19th is the day. We have triple aspect going on, and it's also the beginning of Taurus season. I think perhaps, let me see. Perhaps for people in Australia and New Zealand, I'm not sure, because, you know, I think already for them is 20th of April when the Taurus season begins. For pretty much everybody else in the world, it is still on the 19th. So we start in the Taurus season on April the 19th. Sun moves into the sign of Taurus. For me here in Mexico, it's at 7:59 a.m. For majority people, it's a little bit later. But either way, we start in the Taurus season. And on the same day, before Sun moves into a sign of Taurus, Venus will conjunct Mercury retrograde in Aries. Then Sun will move into the sign of Taurus, starts the Taurus season, and then Mars will make a final sextile to Jupiter, the conjunction between Mars and this is closing a cycle that began in 2022 because Mars has a 2-year orbit. So the next conjunction that will close that cycle will be in August. Mars will conjunct Jupiter on 14th of August, which is right before the full moon in Aquarius and after the new moon in Leo. And after both of the full moons in Capricorn, we know that summer is going to be a very impactful time of this year. And also on the same day, Mars will make a final sextile to Uranus, and the conjunction between Mars and Uranus that is closing the cycle that began between the two of them in 2022, the cycle will end in July, 15th of July, and that's right in between the Capricorn full moons and right after the Cancer new moon. So Mars is the ruler of the North Node, and I will explain to you, I will show you another time, why is all this Cancer season and Capricorn and Saturn and all this, why is it so important? We will talk about this in a moment. But either way, on Friday the 19th, Venus will conjunct Mercury retrograde. Mars will make a final sextile to Jupiter. This is the sextile before the conjunction, so it's got the flavor of Aquarius. What are we liberating ourselves from? Mars is still in a sign of Pisces, so what are we letting go of? Jupiter, the storyteller, and then final sextile to Uranus, which is about what are we liberating ourselves from that is not allowing us to be authentic, to be individuated. Also, Uranus is in the sign of Taurus, right? Also, Jupiter is in the sign of Taurus. This is all about the stories we were being told and the stories we adopted and the stories we tell ourselves that are making us feel disempowered, and this is now ending because this is the precursor of the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, which is happening literally only a few hours later. It's happening the next day. Well, I mean, kind of like 24 hours later. Either way, it's happening on the 20th. So we have Mars making a final sextile to Jupiter and Uranus on Friday, and then the next day on April the 20th, we have the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, and this is closing a cycle that began in 2010 and 2011. And on the same day, right after the conjunction, right after Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, Moon will move into the sign of Libra. Therefore, Moon will be on 29 degrees of Virgo. And I will tell you why this is such an important thing. Seriously, I mean, this is crazy. So anyway, let me just finish naming all these things and then we can dive into the interpretation. On Sunday the 21st, Venus will move square Ceres. Venus will conjunct Chiron, so that will again close a cycle and begin a new cycle. This will close a cycle that began between Venus and Chiron on 3/3/23. Venus last conjuncted Chiron, also in a sign of Aries, because we know Chiron has been there for a while, on 3/3/23. So that cycle is ending. Again, at the time, Venus was the ruler of the North Node. That was right before Venus North Node conjunction that happened later on that month. And now the cycle is ending, new cycle is beginning. Venus is the ruler of the South Node. This is all very important. And on Sunday the 21st, also, Sun is making the first square to Pluto since their conjunction on April 20th, which, again, to remind everyone, happened on 29 degrees 59 minutes of Capricorn. So this is a first square since then, but now because Pluto is behind the Sun, it is actually the flavor of the closing square, which has the connotation of crisis in consciousness. Again, what do we need to break ourselves free, liberate ourselves from, so the cycle can end and a new cycle can begin? So yes, so this is Sunday, and then of course, like Monday, we will have other things. Well, actually, there are no major aspects happening on Monday, but throughout Monday also, Moon is still in a sign of Libra. It will not move into Scorpio until Tuesday 23rd, which is actually the full moon in Scorpio, but that's for another video that we're going to cover next time. Okay, so let me tell you what I'm so excited about. So everything that's going on this week, as you can see, is the continuation of this new story, this new seed that now started coming to life. That it was concepted last April, a year ago, when we had the first eclipse in Aries. However, that was still in a closing phase conjunction with North Node. This is something that is very important. That's why I keep repeating that, because there was still things that had to culminate, right? So now we had this solar eclipse, total solar eclipse in Aries on April, what was it? Oh my God, April 8th, Mercury retrograde. Do excuse me, please. So we had this new eclipse in Aries in a new phase conjunction with North Node and in an exact conjunction with Chiron. Literally, Moon, Sun, and Chiron were exactly on the same degrees and same minute. They were on the top of each other, right? So we know Chiron plays a very important role. Why? Because Chiron is the wounded healer. It's where are we wounding that we feel that we cannot go after what we want, or we don't deserve, or it's not possible, or whatever it is. Whatever is the wound that's preventing us from living the life, self-actualization, going after those adventures and exploring the world, because Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, they have a grand fire trine, the fire of creativity, and Mars as the ruler is in Pisces, co-creation with the spirit. Okay, so we can see Mercury is making second conjunction with Chiron, but Mercury is going back retrograde. Mercury is re-evaluating. Mercury just had a conjunction with Sun, the first one since Sun and Mercury conjuncted Saturn on February 28th, right? So this Mercury is now helping us reevaluate, because now it's in Aries, new beginning, just conjuncted Sun, so it was reborn, the Kazemi and all the rest of it. So now Mercury is trying to help us to reevaluate that, okay, well, we the seed is here, it's starting to grow, we're creating this new life, this new reality, this new timeline for the entire collective, but of course we all going to experience it from our individual perspective, because we all choose our own individual timelines, because we all live in our own reality, right? So for all of this to actually start making sense and allowing us to reconnect with the external world in this way that's necessary, Mercury has to go retrograde in Aries, because Mars is in Pisces. It's saying we need to start reconnecting to the true essence of who we really are, the oneness, the wholeness. We have to go back to wholeness, right? Mercury and Chiron had a conjunction last month. So this also began this new cycle of we need to start identifying reality in a different way in order to get over our wounding and actually start walking in a different direction. So as I mentioned, Venus is conjuncting North Node. The ruler of the South Node is conjuncting North Node. This is saying that we know South Node is in a Libra. It's all about this externalization of the power, which created all this imbalance in the world. Like literally now, we can see the total manifestation of everything that came before. And what do we see? A lot of injustice, a lot of unfairness, a lot of extremes, right? So Venus, as the rule of the South Node in Libra, is now conjunct in North Node, saying, okay, well, this is not going to slide anymore. It's not going to go anymore. This is not part of the future. That's it. Venus is also conjunct in North Node. She's going ahead as the rule of the South Node. That's it. And like I said, Venus will have one more conjunction with the South Node, which now she is the ruler of, in September, when Pluto is again in Capricorn retrograde on 29 degrees. So this is it. This year, that's it. There are all these new energies that already got activated with all these conjunctions. So there are these brand new cycles. And again, this is under influence of Venus, Mars and Mercury already started a new cycle with Pluto in Aquarius that will be growing and evolving, helping us to grow and evolve over the next 20 years period of time. So these are all very different energy from the energies we experienced before. And then, like I said, Moon right after will be moving into sign of Virgo, learning and adjusting. Oh, and yes, let's just backtrack and talk about Moon being in Cancer at the beginning of the week. This week that I'm just describing, Moon is in the sign of her rulership. What is Moon? It's our inner world, it's our identity, it's our intuition, it's our like receptivity. It's like our inner world, and it's also a cardinal sign that is talking about change, right? So as I mentioned previously, we had Moon in a mutable signs at the end of one week and beginning of a new one. Now that's changed. Now Moon is in a cardinal signs. We go in ahead, we create in a new direction. And in this 19th, the Friday when Sun moves into the sign of Taurus, we have Venus as the ruler of the Taurus making a conjunction to Mercury right before. Because this is the same thing, it's just looking at it from different angle. Venus conjuncts the North Node, and then Venus conjunct Mercury retrograde in Aries, because Venus is the rule of the South Node and is conjuncting Mercury retrograde. Mercury is going retrograde, as I explained. Why? Because we need to start seeing reality differently, identifying reality differently, connecting with the external world differently in order to create more justice, in order to correct everything that is out of balance, right? We need to add to the other side of the scale. So that's why Venus is conjuncting Mercury whilst Sun is on 29 degrees of Taurus. And then, Sun moves into the sign of Taurus, ruled by Venus, after this conjunction already had taken place. And then, like I said, the rest of what's going on that day is happening after Sun moved into the sign of Taurus. And that's the Mars sextile to Jupiter and Mars sextile to Uranus, who are both in Taurus. And Venus is in Aries, and just had a conjunction to Mercury. And Venus is ruled by Mars. And Venus is the ruler of Jupiter and Uranus. Can you see how this is all connected? So literally all these aspects, it doesn't matter which one you look, all that they are telling us is that we are going in this new direction. It's non-negotiable anymore. There are all these new activations, Venus, Mercury, Mars is preparing for the conjunction with Jupiter and Uranus in summer. So that's it. Mars is the ruler of North Node. Mars is going to conjunct North Node next month. And while Jupiter is on the last degrees of Taurus, just before Jupiter moves into the sign of, where is Jupiter? Taurus moves into the sign of Gemini, and at the end of May, I believe Mars is going to conjunct Chiron, right? Yeah, it's going to conjunct the North Node first because it's on the lesser degrees. Yes, Mars is going to conjunct Chiron right after Jupiter moves into the sign of Gemini. So anyway, this is going too much into the future, but technically this is how I'm interpreting these energies, that all these are activations that are ending the old story, because yes, on Saturday we having the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. This is the fascinating thing. This is where I really want to dive in, but actually I am going to record a video about this with Lada, where I'm going to be talking about this over the chart, and I can go more into detail so people can actually see what I'm talking about. But I got all the charts of this conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus that happened between 2010 and 2011. There were 3 conjunctions. And this is the cycle that got seeded in 2010, 2011, and this is the cycle that's ending now. And we start in a new cycle in the sign of Taurus, whilst Venus, the ruler, is in Aries, in a new phase conjunction to North Node, and now in a new phase conjunction to Mercury. Mercury, how we connect and identify reality. Mercury, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Gemini is gathering information that helps us to connect. Libra is how we find, like this bridge, what bridges us, what connects us to others. We have the information. For example, I speak your language. We can connect. There is a bridge. The language is the bridge, right? If you don't speak the same language, you can speak whatever you want to me. If I don't understand your language, I'm not going to be able to connect with you. And then it's the Aquarius, like what makes us unique, what makes us these tribal animals, what makes us a community, right? It's all through the communication and thinking in the same way, being like-minded, but also respecting our differences, right? It doesn't mean that we can't get on just because we have a different opinion. So anyway, so Uranus-Jupiter conjunction, okay, and like I said, the week is gonna end right after that conjunction with Venus conjuncting Chiron. So there's gonna be a new phase conjunction between Venus and Chiron right after Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. So Jupiter-Uranus new phase conjunction, Venus, the ruler, will have a new phase conjunction with Chiron. We don't have the luxury to be afraid, to keep being afraid and keep being prevented from stepping into the new direction. We don't have the luxury anymore. That luxury is removed because Venus is in a new phase as of Wednesday, new phase with the North Node, and Venus is the ruler of the South Node, the node we are resolving. The node that created the imbalance because we externalize our power to anything that's external of you, whether it's a human, whether it's a societal structure, whether it's a belief system, whether it's whatever it is, it doesn't matter, because over the thousands of years where we were being put in a smaller and smaller box and made this disconnected with the true essence of who we really are, which is our divine essence. We are all divine beings incarnate in a human form. We are not just this body, we are not just this identity, we are not just this incarnation. There is so much more that we are, but we forgot. And because this is a game, right? We play in a game over here, which I know sounds morbid to people and ridiculous, but this is what the soul came here to do. It came here to participate in a game to grow and evolve. So we created all this Maya, this illusion that is very believable, and it is real for us now in this human body, in this 3D, embodiment. It is real. I'm not saying what's happening in the world is not real. It is real. But from the higher perspective and perspective of the soul, it is a game. It is just a game we play in, like when kids are playing computer games. It's not real. I mean, it is real for us while we incarnate, but then when we go back to spirit form, we understand that it was just a game, right? But we forgot. We take it all that serious. I mean, it is serious while it's happening, of course, because we are experiencing this reality through human bodies, so it is real, it is really happening, but this is like, I mean, I don't want to go too deep into this because it's Mercury retrograde and I'm probably gonna lose everyone just trying to understand. But what I'm trying to say with all of this is that Jupiter Uranus are going to conjunct on well, depending where you are, I guess forever. Most people it's on Saturday, right? On the 20th. Let me check what time is it for me. Perhaps for people in Europe it might be already on Sun. Let's see. I have so many so many things here. Jupiter Uranus conjunct. Yeah, so for people in Europe it's already on Sunday. Okay, so for people on my side of the Atlantic, Mexico, US, and so on and so forth, it is still on Saturday the 20th. For everybody across the Atlantic and further, it's on 21st. So just to make clear. However, either way, the story that got activated in 2010 and 2011, while Jupiter and Uranus were having conjunction, that story is ending. And I tell you what's so important about that story in a moment, because I have the charts here, but that story is ending. And Venus, right after, literally few hours after, like 9 hours after, Venus is conjuncting Chiron. And Chiron is the wounded healer. Chiron is that which is preventing us. It's our wounding. And we allowed our stories, our trauma to stop us from living because we identified through that. We thought that we are our trauma, we are our story, we are our wounding. No, this is just part of the experience. It's part of the fool's journey, the hero's journey. It's part of the soul as a fool in a tarot walking through this incarnation and having an adventure. That's literally what it is. But we forgot. We forgot that this is just a story. We forgot who we really are. We are so over-identified with our labels that we forgot that this is not all there is. This is part of it, but it's not all there is. So after the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, Venus is conjuncting Chiron, and that's it. And at the same time, literally 6 hours later, not even, Sun is making a square to Pluto. And now Pluto is making a, well, I mean, that's what I mean. It's complicated with the Sun, because even though it's a first quarter square since their conjunction, it is a last quarter square for Pluto with relation to Sun. And Sun is still in the sign, well, no, Sun is already in the sign of Taurus, because of course we start in the Taurus season on the 19th. So Sun being in a Taurus is now illuminating us the thing that actually, were present with us in 2022 and 2023 while Venus was the ruler of the North Node, right? So Sun is squaring Pluto, and this is the crisis in consciousness with regards to Pluto and Sun. What are we liberating from ourselves from? Because this is the year where, the things are really starting. Like, I really feel like sometimes that the universe is pinning us to the wall, and it's saying, are you going to surrender? Are you finally going to get it or not? So this is what I feel, that it's like, this is the year where we have a choice. We have a choice how we're going to respond to the external situation and stimuli, but we no longer have a choice with regards to the change. Something is going to change. Something is going to take place. And I mean, with Jupiter-Uranus on a mundane everyday level, I don't know, like I don't make predictions, but Uranus expect unexpected. Jupiter is a storyteller, is the stories, is the news, whatever. Okay, so all of this that's happening this week, like I said, is building us up towards the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, but it's also part of the bigger picture, which is this solar eclipse we just had, which happened in a new phase conjunction with the North Node in Aries, new beginning, and Mars being in Pisces. And, like 2 days after the eclipse, we had the Mars-Saturn conjunction. Saturn was the ruler of Pluto, while Pluto was in Capricorn. And also, Mars is going to conjunct Neptune at the end of the month, right before Venus moves into Taurus and Mars moves into Aries, which are the signs of the rulership. So this is all part of the same thing, that we are moving ahead, we are stepping into uncharted territory, and the only way that we can navigate through this uncharted territory is Mars in Pisces. We need to learn to trust the spirit. We need to reconnect with ourselves. We need to start observing reality through different eye, through different through different lens, which is allowing us to tune into the subtle energies, not what we see, but all there is. Because majority of all there is not manifested in a density. Like that which we can see manifested in our human life, that is a very small fracture of all there is. So with the Mars being in Pisces, is inviting us to start tuning into things that we can't see. And this is what is going to help us to navigate through the times we entering into. Pluto in Aquarius, you cannot see electricity, you cannot see internet, you cannot see EMF, you cannot see Bluetooth, but they're still there. And, and the time and age we live in these things are actually not ruling, well, they are, in a sense, ruling our life. We are allowing them to co-create our life with us, right? So they are very important things. So we are already living in a time and age when these invisible things are co-creating our reality with us, and we can't see them. I can't see internet, right? You can see it. Like, there are so many things going on around us we can't see. So that's why Mercury retrograde in Aries, making a conjunction to Venus. Mars is ruler of everything in Aries, right? And Mars just had a conjunction with Saturn. It's saying to build the reality, North Node in Aries, the future we're heading into, to try to build it from the same place we build our past, it is not gonna work, because both Saturn and Mars are in a closing phase to Neptune. And Neptune is dissolving everything. Neptune is dissolving the entire Pisces age. It's saying, yeah, well, by now you should know the meaning of that, but we're moving ahead. Pluto is already in Aquarius. And as of November 2024, it's going to be in Aquarius until 2023. And we'll have just moved into the sign of Pisces right on time for the next total solar eclipse in Aries in conjunction with North Node, right? In 2043, which is what I was talking about last time. Okay. So now let's go to the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, that is now ending, right? So as I said, this conjunction started 2010, 2011. So let me take you over that. And I give you the few very important factors to pay attention to, but I cannot go into that because there is the depth of that, because you can't see the chart and it will just be too much overwhelm information. So if you would like to hear my full interpretation of Uranus-Jupiter conjunction with regards to everything that built up to this moment, and it started in 2010, 2011, then wait for my video with Lada, which will be published sometimes probably at the end of next week. We're going to be recording it on Wednesday. So there we go. So the first Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in 2010 happened on June 8th. So very important factors to pay attention to with regards to the three conjunctions that Jupiter and Uranus had in 2010 and January 2011, which was the third one, was that the nodes were in Cancer and Capricorn. Now, why is this important? Because we are in the year 8. We keep saying this over and over again. Number 8 is associated with Saturn. It's the number of infinity and abundance, but also you need to put the work in. 8 is Saturn and Jupiter. Yes, it rewards you, but you need to put the work in, right? You need to you had to have worked towards it. And we all did, because we all had multiple lifetimes, right? This is not the first time for majority of us. There are some new souls, but majority of us been here before. So, why is the moon so important? Because the south node was in Cancer. Cancer is ruled by moon. Therefore, the moon keeps going all the time, right? Moon keeps moving. So that means that things are changing all the time. Also, moon was in Cancer. South node was in Cancer, which means that what we were resolving was our past identities, the history, the stories we tell ourselves, the memories. The North node was in Capricorn, was saying this is where things started. 2010, Pluto was already in Capricorn. It was in a closing phase with the North node. Actually, at the time of the first conjunction, Pluto was retrograde. But the other thing that's important to pay attention, Chiron-Neptune. There was a conjunction between Chiron and Neptune. Neptune was still in Aquarius for the first conjunction. Then, they were both in Aquarius for all three conjunctions that happened between Uranus and Jupiter. And of course, Uranus rules Aquarius, and that's where Neptune was. And Chiron at the time of the first conjunction was on 0 degrees on Pisces. But then for the next two conjunctions, both Chiron and Neptune were in Aquarius. Let me just double check. Yes. They were both in Aquarius, and Chiron was in a new phase. So during the first of the three, not the last one, but the first of the three in June 2010, Chiron plays a very important role, was in a new phase conjunction with Neptune, at the time retrograde in Aquarius, but Chiron was already in Pisces, ruled by Neptune. And Uranus, as the ruler of Neptune, was conjuncting Jupiter in Aries, 0 degrees. So this was the only one of the three conjunctions that happened in Aries. It happened on 18 minutes, 1 and 8, 9, endings, preparing for the closure. 9 is the number that saying about culmination and endings, but the true endings is with 10, which is when the cycle ends and the new one begins. It's like the new moon. So 9 is like the void, it's like the one before, right? So moon at the time was actually, I'm not going to go into all these details, but the important thing that I do want to mention is that Saturn was still squaring Pluto, right? Yes, Saturn was squaring Pluto at the time. Saturn was a little bit too far from the nodes, but later on, during the other two conjunctions, Saturn, as the ruler of the North node, was squaring the nodes. But during this first conjunction in June 2010, Saturn was squaring Pluto, and this was the closing square. So Saturn then became the ruler of Pluto. Well, actually, Saturn was the ruler of Pluto already then, because Pluto was in a Capricorn. But Saturn, now, as we know, is in Pisces. At the time, Saturn was at the late degrees of Virgo, so it was in opposition to not exact opposition, because Saturn is not on 27 degrees of Virgo yet, Pisces. But Saturn, as the ruler of Pluto, was actually squaring the Pluto, and it was the closing square. And Mars was in an exact opposition with Chiron. Mars at the time was on 0 degrees of Virgo as well, learning and adjusting. And what do I keep repeating? Mars was in Virgo when it became the ruler of the North Node in Aries. This is no coincidence. Mars was on 0 degrees of Virgo in the exact opposition with Chiron on 0 degrees of Pisces, and Chiron was in a new phase conjunction with Neptune in Aquarius, ruled by Uranus, while Uranus, Jupiter were having the first of the three conjunction on 0 degrees of Aries, and Saturn, as the ruler of Pluto in Capricorn, was squaring Pluto, and it was the closing square, crisis in consciousness, the same thing that's happening now between Sun and Pluto, closing square, crisis in consciousness. And like I said, Moon was the ruler of the South Node. Moon was at the time at the late degrees of Aries. We are going in a new direction, squaring Venus. At the moment, Venus is the ruler of the South Node. So this is just insane, but it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. This is June. This is June 2010. And it actually was right before a new moon in Gemini. Here we go, the Mercury. Mercury was in Taurus. So this is it. What it is that we are actually trying to break the story on. The disconnection of the human soul from the human. Right? Because over the thousands of years, we were being programmed and conditioned to believe how imperfect, faulty, broken, and bad we are. And that was genius. Because without you being connected to yourself, to your body, that is the instrument, everything is already within us that we need. But with us being disconnected, hating ourselves, judging ourselves, criticizing ourselves, and then for hating, judging, and criticizing everybody else. Because when we are feeling separate even from our own body, then how can we feel connected to anybody outside of us? It makes no sense. So this was such a genius idea, such a genius idea. And Mercury was in Taurus at the time. Squaring, there was a T-square between Mars, Neptune, Chiron opposition and Mercury. And Sun was in Gemini. And this was right before the new moon in Gemini, but moon was still in Aries. So it was in that last closing sextile. Well, a little bit too far, but still. So that's the Aquarian fashion. So this is where things, began. Jupiter-Uranus conjunction number 1 on 18 minutes, 0 degrees and 18 minutes of Aries. This is insane, right? Next one, September 19th. Again, 1 and 9. What is 1 and 9? Is the Sun card in Tarot. Is the 10, the closing and beginning. So this one, this one, so the previous one, as I mentioned, Mars, as the current ruler of North Node, was on 0 degrees of Virgo, making an exact opposition to Chiron, that was in a new phase conjunction with Neptune. Well, during the second Uranus and Jupiter conjunction, while they both were retrograde, this conjunction took place in Pisces. The only one of the three conjunctions that took place in Aries was the first one in June 2010. The second one, September 19th, 2010, it happened in Pisces, 28 degrees, 43 minutes, 10 and 7. 7 is the Neptune. What are we ending? 10 is the endings and new beginnings. It happened on the 19th. 19, 10, Sun card, September, 9, endings, 2010, 3, Jupiter, growth. What are we learning? What are we learning from the cycles that now need to end? They need to end. We don't have time to waste anymore because Pluto is in Aquarius in 2024. This was a preparation. It was a preparation. It was right before Neptune moved into the sign of Pisces to start dissolving everything. Neptune at the time was still in the sign of Aquarius. It say we need to heal this disconnection. We need to heal this fracture. We need to heal this trauma. We need to heal this alienation. Because we need to come back to wholeness, we need to come back to source, we need to come back to spirit. Because the time of human soul being disconnected from its true essence, human incarnate being disconnected from the source, from the soul, from the source, from the higher self, that time is ending. That's it. Because the high vibration of Pluto in Aquarius, it's going beyond everywhere we've been before, and we cannot do it by feeling separate from everything around us. It's not possible. So at this time, Saturn, as the ruler of the North Node in Capricorn at the time, 2010 we're talking about, Saturn was squaring the nodes. And the resolution node was the South Node. The identities that we need to let go of. The memories that actually many times are not even real. They're not even real. They are just the stories we were being told and adopted that, okay, yeah, that happened, okay, history, yeah, I'll learn that, I remember that. Well, who knows? Who knows what really happened, right? So anyway, Moon was in Aquarius, interestingly enough. Jupiter-Uranus conjunction part 2 in Pisces. Moon was in Aquarius. Moon as the rule of the south node, the resolution node to Saturn as the rule of the north node, squaring the nodes. And of course, Saturn, the ruler of Pluto, in a closing phase with North Node in Capricorn. North Node in Capricorn. What are we closing? The externalization of our power to external authority. Where are we at? Year 8, year Capricorn. What do we have? 4 lunations in Capricorn. That's what I keep saying. This is the year of Capricorn. And also is the year of the choice, because we need to make a choice, because the story is ending. Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, now on the 20th, 21st, if you are in Europe and beyond, far further, right? But we had a lot of in conjunction in each time, because it's like we don't know who we are then. If we know all these things we were being told, South Node and Moon had an exact in conjunction. It was actually, there was a yod. Mercury was in Virgo. We need to make adjustments. We need to discern. We need to learn. We need to go into our hermit cave and really tap into our deep intuition, Pisces, and realize what's going on here. Chiron, Neptune were in a new phase conjunction. Chiron was in a new phase conjunction to Neptune, both retrograde in Pisces. Both of them were in Pisces. And like I said, the Mars that was making opposition to Chiron and Neptune, the first time there was a Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, this Mars was trining now. Mars was in Scorpio, conjuncting Venus. Venus was in a new phase conjunction with Mars in Scorpio. This Mars was trining this Neptune and Chiron. In Scorpio, it's saying you need to dig deep, you need to investigate, you need to face your fears, your shadow, because that's what's preventing you in stepping into your power. That's what allowed you to this externalization of power to take place, because we disconnected, because we feel so ashamed of who we are and we rejected all these aspects of ourselves. That is the shadow work. That's literally what shadow work means, is to reconnect with the aspects of ourselves that we had to reject because the external environment didn't support that. And for us to survive, Taurus, we had to reject that, right? And then we didn't feel whole, and we felt in resentment of ourselves, and we lost the connection. And then we had to go looking for it outside of us, which made us even more disempowered. So, I don't know if I'm explaining this in a way that makes sense, but can you understand what this means? Richard, this is exactly what's going on astrologically. This is exactly what got seeded in 2010, 2011, just before Neptune moved into the sign of Pisces and started dissolving everything, because it was trying to help us understand what was the meaning of all of this. Because like I keep saying, unless we understand why things happened and what was the meaning for them to happen, for them to exist, because everything has a purpose and meaning. Nothing happens and exists without meaning. Universe makes no mistakes. There is a divine intelligence. If you look at the charts, like I keep saying a million times already, and you understand the planets, the archetypes, what they're trying to tell us, there is no way this exists by mistake or random selection. You know, the exact placements of the planets, the signs, the degrees, everything. There is a sacred geometry in this. There are activations code in this. There is like literally a magic, you know, so this is crazy, you know. So again, this one was right after the new moon in Virgo and right before the full moon in Pisces, because moon was in Aquarius, right, ruled by Uranus, conjuncting Jupiter in Pisces, ruled by Neptune Chiron, a conjunction in Aquarius. So they had a mutual reception, Neptune and Uranus, because Uranus was in Pisces, Neptune was in Aquarius. We are in the age of Aquarius, and Pluto is in Aquarius. There was a mutual reception. It said the only way to move into the age of Aquarius and embody the potential of what it can offer to us is to learn from the past and understand the meaning. And we can only do that when we think from higher perspective, and we can only do that when we can reconnect with spirit. So at the same time, like Pisces, like the two fishes, like Gemini, like the multidimensionality of who we are, we can appreciate the human experience and go through all the feelings and motions and everything that it entails. But at the same time, we can also understand why this is happening, because this is a game. But it's real because we are incarnate. But when we're not incarnate, we understand. So we need to remember. The South Node was in Cancer. Cancer is about memory. It was the resolution node. Moon was moving all the time. Moon was in Aquarius here. We need to remember. How are we going to remember? We need to face the shadow. We need to face the trauma. We need to not allow it for it to define who we are, because it's part of our story. It's not who we are. We are divine being, unlimited divine being. That's the perfection, the spirit. In a human form, we came here to have an experience, and that is not perfect. It's messy. This is a school of life. They said this is a mastery class being on Earth, right? Okay, number 3. Jupiter conjunction, the final one, and you cannot make this up, literally. I almost fell off the chair. It happened on a solar eclipse in Capricorn. The last Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, I'm literally getting goosebumps all over my body. Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, the last one, happened on 27 degrees and 2 minutes, 2 and 7, 9. 2 is the duality, is the co-creation with the spirit, is the becoming one. Because 1 and 1 makes 3, right? Yeah, mathematically you can say 1 and 1 makes 2. No, 1 and 1 makes 3, which is the third energy, the third entity. Because the spirit and the human co-creates, manifests, right? So at the time of the third Uranus-Jupiter conjunction, which is the one that we are now ending the cycle on April 20th, 21st, depending where you are in the world, that one began on January 4th, 2011, which was the day of the solar eclipse in Capricorn, in conjunction with Pluto. Pluto was behind the sun, so of course it was in the closing phase. It was only a few degrees away. Actually, during the time of the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, it was afterwards. So Moon was already in a new phase because it happened after the eclipse. Moon was already in a new phase. Before the Sun and Moon conjunction, Moon is in the closing phase before the new Moon. This was a new Moon in Capricorn, solar eclipse. New Moon in Capricorn, solar eclipse in conjunction with Pluto on the North Node, in conjunction with North Node, in a new phase conjunction with North Node in Capricorn. And Saturn was a little bit too far from the, from squaring the nodes, but Saturn was squaring the eclipse. Saturn was squaring the eclipse, and it was the closing square, crisis in consciousness. Saturn is the ruler of the North Node, the resolution node, South Node. South Node ruler, well, Saturn was squaring the nodes. Resolution node, South Node, ruled by Moon. Moon in Capricorn, ruled by Saturn. This is insanity. This is when the cycle had really begun. The cycle that's ending now on April 20th, April 21st, 2024, in a year ruled by year 8 ruled by Saturn with 4 lunations in Capricorn. Do you understand now why we have to have 4 lunations in Capricorn? Because the energy of Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that got seeded in Pisces, first time Aries, but we weren't ready. It was 0 degrees, unlimited potential of what it can manifest out of that. But the last conjunction, the other 2 were in Pisces, 27 degrees, endings, culminations. And Chiron, Neptune were squaring Venus. Venus was in a closing square. In Scorpio, Venus is the rule of the South Node at the moment. This is like everything exists simultaneously. We cannot say, well, who cares what happened in 2010, 2011? Because in the multidimensional, in fifth and higher dimensions, in because we are multidimensional, but in the 3D, where we are right now, even though that's also questionable because we're moving through different dimensions all the time, we can understand linear time. So we go, okay, now it's 2024. It was 2010, 2011. What anything has to do with anything, right? No. From the multidimensional perspective, everything is happening simultaneously. So Venus, even though Venus had nothing to do with the North and the South Node, Venus is the rule of the South Node now. Venus is making a conjunction to North Node. Few days before Jupiter-Uranus conjunction 2024, and Venus is the ruler of them because they are in Taurus, right? At the time, they were in Pisces. Pisces and Taurus support each other. It's a sextile between the two in the zodiac, right? So the cycle began on an eclipse. And Moon was in a new phase, and Pluto was in a closing phase, ruled by Saturn that was squaring the eclipse. This is insane. Like, you can't make this up. This is crazy. And the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction at the time, no, the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction now, 2024, is making an exact trine, the current transits are making an exact trine to where Mars was at the time in Capricorn, new phase. Mars in Capricorn is in exaltation. That is the emperor, right? Is the maturity, is the mature Mars. There is a joke among astrologers when they say Mars gets out of the bed every morning to become a Capricorn. I'm sure you heard it before. Mars was in a new phase conjunction to this moon, Capricorn solar eclipse, new moon, together with moon. Moon was in a closing phase to Mars until, obviously, then moon gone ahead of it very quickly. And Mars was making a sextile to Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, right? Yes, because it was it was making a, no, it was, wait, let me have a look at it properly. Yes, I had to double check because, I'm going bonkers here. Yes, Mars was making an exact well, almost exact. It was a little bit, wide degree, but still, it's count. Mars was making a sextile to Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in 2011 when this cycle began, and Mars was in a new phase conjunction to the eclipse, and Mars is being made a trine by this conjunction that's happening now. The place of the Mars in 2011, 21 degrees, Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, the current one, is making a trine to that. So that which got seeded in 2011, it's supporting us. And this process that we've experienced in the past 13, 14 years, since 2010, 2011, and we know that Neptune moved into the sign of Pisces in 2012, which was the year later. This is what was going on in the past 13, 14 years. We know there is a lot of energetical shifts that took place in 2012, right? When people were expecting the world to end. I think it was December 21st, 2012, when people expected the world to end. And it didn't. But the world as we know it started to end. Because the story is literally ending now, in a real time, 20th, 21st of April, 2024. But this was the premonition of that. This was the inception of that energy that is now culminating, because now everything is ready. Pluto is in Aquarius, North Node is in Aries, and already we had this support, like already when we look at it multidimensionally, the universe knew that the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus on April 20th, 21st, 2024 is making a trine to Mars as of January 4th, 2011 in Capricorn, new phase conjunction to the eclipse in Capricorn that was being squared by Saturn, and Moon was the rule of the South Node, the resolution node. We need to let go of these past identities, of these past stories, of this past history that served a purpose because it helped us to experience the polarity and experience what we potentially don't want. But now it's time to move on. Neptune Chiron in Aquarius. It's time to reconnect, and not allow the past to create our future no more. Copy paste. Like in past 2000 years, yes, we as a humanity, we evolved a lot. We've changed. But there are still the same outdated toxic patterns that are being recreated and manifested over and over again, and that does not have a place in the time we're heading into, Aquarian time. Aquarius is about equality. It's not about, I'm whatever, so I deserve to own everything and tell everybody what to do and stuff. No, that doesn't exist in the age of Aquarius, and this is why we're going through these energetic wars, these vibrational wars, frequency wars, because of this. Because it's time. Because it's time to let it go. It's time to understand and mourn over the incarnations and ancestors and collective wounding that we all had to go through to get to this point to understand. But now we have the opportunity to move beyond, and whether we're ready or not, we are moving beyond, because the multiverse, the planet Gaia, planet Earth, everything is ascending. It's not just us as human race or this planet, it's the entire multiverse. Everything is ascending. The desire of the source has changed. It wants to come back to unity. It doesn't want division no more. So everything is changing, and so are we. And in order for us to remain in this physical incarnation right now, we have to change. And it's no longer negotiable. This is the year. This is the year. Everything is being activated. So this is why this is such a powerful week. And it's happening right after the total solar eclipse in Aries. New phase with the North Node. You know, there is nothing, and that eclipse now that just happened was making a trine to Mercury at the time of this conjunction. Mercury was in Sagittarius, 21 degrees, ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter was close into Uranus in Pisces. The Pisces way of thinking, this sacrifice, martyrdom, victimhood, that is not going to cut it no more. Not going to cut it no more. Venus just making a conjunction to Mercury this week. Mercury is retrograde. Is making us to really, really rethink and reevaluate what does it mean for us incarnate on this planet with regards to all these changes that are happening. What does it mean? How are we supposed to connect with the world around us and the reality that we are co-creating and experiencing simultaneously? It takes an open mind, right? Mercury is in Aries. It says, well, let's take it back to the drawing board. We're starting from the fresh. It's exciting. Scary, but exciting. Us little children, they go, adventure? Let's do it. And this is what the soul feels. Because that's why we came. That's why we all here. You know? So anyway, I'll leave it at that, guys, before confusing anybody any further. But let's pull some cards. Let's pull card from the Akashic Tarot, and we're just gonna pull one major arcana, and I'm gonna close it with that, and I'm gonna dive deeper into cards tomorrow during my practical application of astrology. But while I was shuffling the Akashic Tarot from Sandra and Taylor, this card flew out. Literally, it flew out. You can see the sun and the moon. And we can see the night and the day, and the figure is in between, and is the Queen of Forces, which is actually the Queen of Wands. Queen of Wands, you know, is the feminine, is the divine feminine empowered, you know, the creativity. Wands is the fire of creation. But you can see they are both equally important. The feminine and the masculine, the divine masculine, the solar energy and the divine feminine, they both have a place, they both have a meaning. It's about balance. Doesn't she look like a scale? Doesn't she look like Libra? You know, Queen of Forces. We have the opportunity to manifest anything we want, but we need to come back to balance. Yeah. So the card says, this card shows a woman balancing the energies of a sun in one hand and a moon in the other, with the river flowing beneath her feet. South Node was in Cancer. The last time Jupiter and Uranus made free conjunctions, South Node was in Cancer. Cancer is the water, is the emotions. Okay. This card shows a woman balancing the energies of sun in one hand and moon in the other, with the river flowing beneath her feet. The Queen of Forces represents a woman who can help to bring greater balance to your life. She brings an unusual combination of power and peace, creativity and receptivity in both her energy and her support. Sometimes this card can represent a person in your life, either you or another, coming into a phase of great power and ability to sustain it with wonderful results. There is a gift of grace and serene understanding when this card is upright. It also brings new roles and opportunities, careers in many of the sciences, global communication, nature and energy may now be available to you. The Queen of Forces could also indicate the appearance of a possible love interest or an associate in business or in a creative project who has powerful influence and connections for you or for another. The spirit, of course. We are here to co-create the spirit. Mars is in Pisces, remember? It might be someone you know or somebody new, but when this card appears, there is a tender yet powerful support. During this time, choose to support yourself as well. You hold the forces of the sun, creativity, and the moon, receptivity, and only you yourself can direct the energy of your eternal life. Akashic Force. Feel the Queen of Forces approach. She offers all sorts of support and energy. Who is she in your life? Take a deep breath and tap into the inner part of you that rules the forces of the world. I mean, didn't just that literally, in a nutshell, said exactly what I've been talking about in the past hour? We come in to the sense state of empowerment through balancing the forces within, through reconnection to our true essence, human self and the divine self, the human soul, when the soul is present, and we can create whatever we want. But we need to tap into our intuition, our emotion, and understand that both have a role. Our ego mind, our human self has a role to play, but so does our higher self and our higher mind. So yeah, this is so perfect. This card literally is so perfect with regards to these energies. So okay, let's pull one more card. I'm going to shuffle now on camera. Okay, so Akash record. Is there anything else to go with this card? I put it back in the deck, so let's see what comes out. Oh, another card flew out. Okay, they jumpy today. Intricates and industry. 7 of Scrolls. So that's like 7 of Swords. 7 of Swords. What are the lies that we tell ourselves, right? Intricate and industry. Let me tune in. Well, we're definitely building something new. You can see there is a person there building something. Blue skies, nice weather. And it's like in the summertime. And there is a sign of a Venus. Very, very tiny here. It's hard to see. But yeah, scrolls, as far as I know, they represent the thoughts. Scrolls are the thoughts, so they're like the swords. And that would be like the 7 of Swords, right? And 7 of Swords are the lies. Where do we deceive ourselves that we cannot create what we want? When everything is already there, we just need to learn from what was and rebuild it. Rebuild it. Okay, let's see what the 7 of Scrolls says without me trying to butcher up the interpretation. But 7 of Scrolls, let's see. Okay, here we go. Intricates and industry. Work on Renaissance cathedrals has just begun. Yeah, we building from the old, learning from the old and building anew. At first, this building seems modest, but in time, its grandeur will reach several stories high and across the centuries. But now piles of stones and rock dot the scenes. A mason bends, focusing intently on a plump bob that hangs next to the particular built wall. This instrument helps him determine if the wall is straight or true. Oh, I think that must be the thing that is like a Venus. This thing, you know, the thing that you cannot see it very well, but he's holding something here, and it looks like a sign for a Venus. So anyway, this instrument helps him determine if the walls is straight and true. At the basic level, this card could indicate building or renovating a home or business. This card also shows that you're on your way to greatness, but it requires attending to even the tiniest of particulars. Be diligent with the specifics in your strategy and pay considerable attention to detail and follow through. While you might have a long-term goal in mind, the small steps are what's important now. Even the most magnificent cathedrals were built stone by stone, day by day. It is only by heaping up the small that the great can be achieved. And the Akashic Force. There is a situation in your life that requires your attention to detail right now. Close your eyes and imagine that this situation is a puzzle in pieces on a table in front of you. Imagine the individual pieces and sense that what you notice and feel about them. This is literally what we're building. You know, and it's that Mars in Virgo, step-by-step process. We're not going to build it in one day. That's why we might get frustrated, like, okay, well, if this is falling apart, where is the new thing, where it doesn't exist yet? We are manifesting it as we speak. We just seeded the energy. The energy is just about to start manifesting. You know, now with the new phase conjunction with North Node and all these conjunctions, but we still have one more retrograde, Pluto in Capricorn. So this is perfect. Yeah, but you know, like that thing, you know, and it's interesting that it reminds me of Venus. You probably can't see it very well, but it's here on a wall. It's the sign for Venus, and Venus is the ruler of the south node. We need to pay attention to details where we've been deceiving ourselves and lying to ourselves with regards to the stories we were being told, which we adopted. So we need to pay attention to details because we're building something magnificent. We're building a brand new world, the golden age. But it's a step-by-step process. Step-by-step process. And the 7, the number of Neptune. Right? Okay, and at the bottom of the card is one of roses, which is the Ace of Cups. Commitment, but it was reversed. You can see there is a piece of paper. Contract. Contract! Oh my God! Oh my God. The spirit is literally saying, right? The contract is changing. We need to turn it upside down. There is a new contract. There is a dissolvement of the contract. Number 7, we're dissolving the contract because we're building something new. The lesson has been learned. It's time to turn it upright. No more disempowerment. Tap into your heart. The one of roses is the Ace of Cups. Look at all this potential. Look at all that light. There is a new contract, but it was in reverse. We're still holding on to past. We still feel in debt to the past. We still feel guilty and ashamed for stories of the past. It's time to turn that contract straight. The only contract you have is with the spirit. But obviously everything plays a role and there is a purpose and reason for everything. But now the contract is changing. Okay, one of roses, reversed. Some kind of separation or breaking a contract. So it was like this. Some part of separation or breaking a contract might be at hand. It could be a total severing of ties like a divorce or job loss, or it could be less intense such as temporary separation or layoff. This card could also indicate an investment that fails or a home purchase or sale that falls through. Whatever shape it takes, there is an emotional component that underlies the experience. It will be important to vent your feelings and deal with the sense of loss, but try not to think too catastrophically. The loss of or separation might seem difficult now, but you have the power to deal with it and get back on your feet again. Sometimes this energy indicates a physical separation. You might have to travel or relocate for businesses or personal reasons. In this or any kind of physical or emotional distance, make sure to retain some balance in your life. Right? Like that woman on the first card. Also consider this: have you forgotten your own priority of self, Taurus? Do you put yourself last and dismiss your own needs? If so, it's time to start committing to yourself. Try not to lose sight of the greatest partnership of all, your connection to the eternal, powerful, and valuable self that is your soul. Oh my God, your spirit is longing for you to commit. Didn't I just say that? This is crazy. Like, I literally pulled the cards, and it was on the bottom of the deck, and I shuffled. So I didn't even see, I don't even use this deck very often. Akashic Force, close your eyes and with a deep breathing, bring in the world commitment. Feel its energy, fill you with dedication and your purpose. You are ready to make a priority of every commitment, large and small in your life, especially to yourself. Exactly. So that's what I mean, the loss. Yes, the loss of the ego, the loss, the South Node in Cancer, 2010, 2011. We need to let go of this past identity, of this distorted loyalty to the past, to keep recreating the same wheel by all these wars and separation and stories and disputes and all this BS. Like, we all came from the same place, returned to the same place, we all one. Like, yeah, we are a unique expression of the source, and that's exactly what we're supposed to be while we're here. But all these wars, they are for nothing. They are BS. So the commitment, the contract, that contract of the past, it's ending. It's time to recommit to the spirit, recommit to the source. And it said it right there. Oh my God. And the only way you can do it is when you tune in, when you reconnect with yourself, with your own heart. The Ace of Cups is the new contract, is the new love with yourself, the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. As of next weekend, new phase, a new story that you will start telling yourself, a new contract, a new relationship that will then start manifesting. It's Taurus. It's time to put the seeds in the ground. Oh my God. And okay, quickly, just one more major arcana. And we end with that. But this is like, I mean, this card tells you exactly what's going on. And it's literally exactly what I was talking about for an hour with astrology. It's insane. Okay, Spirit. Just, okay. One jumps out straight away and it's the Star. And at the bottom of the deck is the Hermit. Oh my god, look, Hermit holds the Star. I mean, you can't make this shit up, seriously. Look at that. The Star. We are co-creating a new future. A new future. And look, 1 foot on the earth, 1 foot in the water. The connection of the human, of the carbon human, and the emotion, the intuition, the soul. And look at the Star. How beautiful is the Star. And this is the card of Aquarius. The hope for the future. Naked. We starting from the beginning like a child. We birthing a new earth, the water and the water and the earth and the stars, the air and the fire of creation. And at the bottom is Hermit. How we gonna get there? Number 9, endings. This is number 18, right? 17, number 8. 1 and 7, beginnings, learning. And then the 8, Star, is in opposition with the Strength. We are in a year 8 and we have a Hermit here, number 9. Because things are ending, we need to tap deep within. Hermit is the Virgo. Virgo is in opposition with Pisces. You can see he holds the Star. The Star is the future. It's here. You know what's in his little lamp is this. But how are we gonna get there? We need to turn within. We need to discern and learn from the past. The Hermit, the Sage. Learn from the past mistakes. Look, he's on the top of the mountain. Look at the higher perspective. Look at the higher perspective. What was this all for? What did it all try to teach us? This is so perfect. So this is why. This is why. Because we're creating a very different future. Very different future. Because the contract has ended. The contract of the past is finished. That story is finished. Uranus, Jupiter conjunction. And we build in a new earth. Step by step. Stop believing the lies outside of yourself. And the lies you've been telling yourself. Jupiter, Uranus conjunction. That story is ending. Okay guys, that's it. I'll leave it with this. And we pick up tomorrow, practical application of astrology, where I'll be sharing some other things. So I wish you all a wonderful day and I'll speak to you again soon. Much love everyone. Bye for now.